Welcome back to another video. Today we've got some cowl spot boxes, and that means only one thing. We're taking a look at a gateway system. So this particular gateway was advertised as never used, not new in box. The boxes were open, but I took a quick look inside, and it does look like it has been probably set up at some point. So this is a gateway with a Pentium 4 540 processor, which was released in Q2 of 2004, which was exactly 20 years ago as of the filming of this video. So this is probably a 20-year-old machine, still in the box, but I don't think it's new. Anyway, I'm really curious to see what's in here. So let's get these things unboxed, set up, and take a look and see what we've got. All right, so here's what we have. I've got the 2004 Gateway LCD monitor, a nice 4:3 aspect ratio, and a hefty 20 pounds or something. We've got the machine itself. The machine looks to be very clean. Maybe it wasn't used, but I suspect that's not the case. Looking at the keyboard, there's definitely some dirt on it, but that could have dripped in when it was sitting in the box, so who knows. Do want to get this thing powered up, so let's go set it up on the bench and see if it boots. So one thing that tipped me off that this wasn't new in box is that I peeked in the computer box and there was a power strip in it. Now, I know Gateway didn't include power strips with their machines, so clearly somebody had plugged it in at some point, I would guess. So we'll use the power strip that it came with just for authenticity, I suppose. Here are the speakers that it came with. They also look like they're in fairly good shape, but probably used. And we have the Gateway mouse, which very clearly has been used. It's not super dirty, but it has signs of wear on it, and like everything else, has some dirt as well. So on the feet here, you can see there's the standard gunk. But not a ton of it, so I don't think it got a ton of use. Oddly enough, we got just a single power cord with it. That's alright, we've got lots of spare power cords around the bench here, so no worries about that. The keyboard. Next I'll grab the CPU itself. So I presume everything is stock in here. We have Ethernet, USB, FireWire, sound card, keyboard, mouse via PS2, and a modem. Otherwise, nothing super remarkable about it. It does have a Windows XP Home Edition COA on it. So on the front here, we've got, probably assuming the sticker's right, dual layer DVD burner, CD-ROM, USB, media card reader, compact flash reader, power button, hard drive access light, and down here we've got 2 FireWire ports, 2 more USB, and then a microphone and a headphone jack behind this door here. It slides up and down. Alright, monitor appears to work. So let's go ahead and hit power on the system. This is a very loud computer. It's got a case fan. Oh, it just spun down. So it's just while it's posting, it's setting the fans to high speed. But alright, we saw the Pentium 4 with hyper-threading logo, and here we are booting into Windows XP. So I presume this is Home Edition. That's what it shipped with. You know, I've spent a little bit of time before I purchased it, and, well, yeah, it was advertised as new in box, but I wasn't sold based on the pictures I saw, so I didn't offer new in box prices. The couple selling it lived on a farm in a very remote part of Wisconsin, and they had it listed for like $100, and it had been sitting there for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and months, I guess. And we tried multiple times to meet up, but we kept having conflicts after we'd agreed to meet at a certain time or day. But we finally did connect, and I did offer what I thought was a reasonable price for this, of $50. So $50 for a inbox gateway from 2004 seemed like a good deal to me. I don't know. It works, so I guess I probably got my money's worth. But definitely not new in box. It looks like this has been used. So I'm just curious to see what's on here. Looks like we have Net Zero, Cricket, Broadband Connect. Mouse works. The keyboard seems to work. Let's see if these drives eject. As kind of expected, the top drive doesn't really eject. But with these drives, as you can see, they have this giant bezel on them. So, replacing them with a different drive would kind of ruin the aesthetics of this computer. So this is something we can hopefully fix. It might just be that the belt has dried out and the rubber won't allow it to open. It might be jammed. It looks like it's trying, but not able to do it. Not a huge surprise. That seems to happen to a lot of drives. Let's see if the system has detected both of them. It does see both of them, plus it sees all of the card reader slots as well. Alright, so let's see what's installed on here. We've got ABBYY Fine Reader 50 Sprint Plus. It says it was last used on March 27th, 2010. Currently, it believes the date is 2001. So at some point the battery was probably working, but no longer. Let's check the old event viewer and see when this machine was most recently used. Alright, so that's today, 12/31/2001. Before that, looks like it was used on August 4th, 2011. Used July, June. So definitely a used system, but not heavily used, it doesn't appear. Although early June looks like they did use it quite a bit. Let's see how far back we can go here. Yeah, so it goes all the way back to May 16th, 2011. So this thing definitely did get some use, which is not surprising. No, I don't think I was intentionally lied to. The couple that I bought it from, the farmer and his wife, very nice people. I fully believe that they thought it was never used in the box still. They certainly weren't technical people, weren't computer people. They were just looking to get it out of their garage at this point. So no hard feelings there whatsoever. Let's see what else is installed. We've got Apple application support, so I'm guessing at some point somebody installed iTunes on here. We've got a games bar, Google Earth, Google Chrome. Those would not have been included, I don't think, out of the box in 2004. Net Zero definitely would have been included. Power DVD probably included. Real Player, certainly an included one. Yahoo Toolbar, I can see that going either way. For a while, everything was installing the Yahoo Toolbar, but it also could have been a pre-installed thing. Microsoft Money 2004, but I think other than Google Earth, Google Chrome, probably Games Bar, and then the Apple iTunes things, I think it's a pretty stock install. So this is kind of what you would have got in 2004 when you got home with your new computer from the Gateway store, which I believe they were still operating in 2004. We had one here in Wisconsin. I remember when it opened. Gateway previously was mail order type shop, where if you wanted to buy a Gateway, you could buy it online, and they kind of copied Dell in that sense. But when they opened a store here, then they started collecting Wisconsin sales tax, and I know some people in the IT community were very unhappy about that, because even though they should have been paying that sales tax when they reported their taxes at the end of the year, they obviously weren't. And then being compelled to pay sales tax with the Wisconsin presence of Gateway, then the price of the system went up for them. So they were saving some money by cheating on their taxes, lost out on that with the Gateway store, and the rest is history, I suppose. All right, let's take a look at Chrome here. Now, I'm not connected to the internet. It does have Ethernet. I didn't plug it in. I see that it has the driver for it installed. I'm just really curious about what version this is here. So this is version 12.0.742.122. Not dot, but M from 2011. So this computer probably got used for 4 years. Maybe it didn't get used right away. Somebody borrowed it, did some things with it, and then put it back in the box, but certainly not new box, as we've been over. So I'm curious what kind of stuff Gateway installed here by default. It doesn't look like there's much. A couple of users guides, one for the modem, one for the motherboard, and just a general computer user guide. This is Adobe Reader 6 from 2003. So Gateway using your computer. Using Windows, using the internet, using the World Wide Web, using email. I think they're using AOL.com as an example for the email address here. That's interesting. And they have a specific section about America Online as well. In fact, it all seems like it's AOL there. So if you don't have AOL, their documentation is not much help. Moving from your old computer, using the Files and Settings Transfer Wizard. This is just redocumenting things Microsoft has already documented thoroughly, so just a kind of quick start guide, I suppose. But still interesting. Looking at downloading files. I was hoping they'd have some sort of estimate about speeds and how long it takes to download, 10 megabytes or something, but they don't. Take a look at the system. So this is Windows XP Home Edition Service Pack 3. This is version 2002. And this is, as noted, the Pentium 4, Pentium 4 540 with the hyper-threading. So we should see 2 processors in Task Manager, and we do. So it's single-core, hyper-threaded, which is interpreted by Windows as having 2 disparate processors, which isn't exactly how it works, but close enough. We have 504 megabytes of RAM. I suspect that's because it's using some of the built-in RAM for the video card. So if we go to Device Manager here, look at display adapters, it's using the Intel 18915G Express chipset family. So that is just onboard video, which we knew because the VGA port was just on the main board. And certainly this is just using the standard computer RAM for its video RAM. There's no dedicated video RAM. So we could probably modify in the BIOS how much it gets unless it's doing it dynamically, but I think that's why it's 504. I'm guessing the machine probably has 512 megabytes of RAM, and it's used 8 of those for the video RAM. So this machine probably not going to be playing a lot of the AAA titles from 2004, even though that's when it was released. I think the CPU is plenty powerful, but this video card is not gonna kick a lot of butts and take names. So we could add a discrete GPU to it, but I think that's all the info we're gonna get from running the system. And IE probably will close at some point, or we'll just force it to go away. Let's go ahead and turn it off and open it up and see what the inside looks like. Now, I highly doubt this machine's ever been opened up before, so if we didn't get a first time using unboxing, we will get a first time inside. And yeah, the warranty sticker here is still intact, so let me go ahead and cut that. And that allows us to hopefully open up the case here. There we go. All right, so taking a look at the inside, there is a fair amount of dust in the CPU fan, but Well, I don't think I would even say fair amount. There's a minor amount of dust in the CPU fan. So this machine either lived in a place that was very clean, or it really didn't get much use. And I suspect it really didn't get much use. So we can see we've got our front ports here. So these, I think, were the USB ones. Over here would be FireWire, and these ones would be for audio, headphone and microphone. And then we've got our IDE cable for the DVD drive and the CD drive. This machine has no floppy drive. I guess we could have pointed that out. So this was a little bit later in the machines when floppies had kind of just gone away. We do have our hard drive here, and it is actually SATA, which 2004, I think. Geez, is that surprising that it's SATA? It's probably not surprising, but 2004, trying to think if SATA was kind of the standard at that point. I think it was just coming out, and this might have been maybe one of the first computers the Gateway made that had SATA and probably didn't have a floppy drive, but again, I don't know since there's not tons of information about it out there. And if I take my paintbrush here, I can kind of get some of this dirt off, but there's not really that much to take off. It's fairly clean. Bottom of the case does have some more dirt, but that's just because it's the bottom of the case, and any dirt that gets in or around the system will end up in there. And I have seen way, way worse computers, so it's pretty minor. We have our modem here. Obviously, this is our Pentium 4 here. This is the chipset heatsink. And we have our two, let me go ahead and unplug it, our two DIMMs here. Let's just take one out. And I suspect they're going to be 256 each. PC 3200U, 256 megabytes, yeah. So I'm positive at this point that the missing 8 megabytes was just shared video memory. So let's slide this back in. And it does have room for 2 additional sticks, so we could probably get this up to, I think, 2 gigabytes. We could do 4 512 megabyte DIMMs in here. There is possibility of putting a second hard drive in here. There's another 3.5-inch slot above the media reader. That's interesting. The media reader is 3.5 inches in the back, but 5.25 in the front. It's like a reverse mullet. But there is a second 3.25 slot. I don't think there's any way that we could get a floppy in here. This looks like it's on there pretty good. Oh, the plastic's still in here for the Gateway. Let's go ahead and take that off. Oh yeah. Oh, got a peel. All right. Yeah, but as far as this machine goes, it's nothing remarkable. I mean, it's just a standard 2004 Pentium 4. Everything's very basic. So it does have a ton of caps on the board, but obviously it's working, and they all look... Well, there's a leaked one right there. Was 2004 after the capacitor plague. But we do have a leaked one here for sure. So LGR posted a video recently where he had a Dell Dimension, I think, like a 2100 or something, and it had a ton of leaked capacitors, and it was still functional. Let me flip this down and bring the camera over and show you what's leaked in here. All right, so you can see this capacitor here has got some goo coming out of it, but all these other capacitors look fine. You don't really see any problems with these ones. There's some more back here, and these all look fine, no issues. There's one over here. I don't know if we can see that with these cables in the way. All right, so yeah, this one here has leaked as well. You can see the goo on it, and that's by the ATX connector, so that's probably doing some power filtering, I guess. Now, I assume these capacitors are probably still somewhat functional, and they're certainly not shorted. So it's probably not going to hurt anything to run with them, but definitely both of these should be replaced. Also, this one here, over here, looks a little bulgy. I think if I was being thorough, I'd replace it, but don't think it's leaked, so I probably will leave it. Now we do want to get these capacitors out of here before they cause any issues to the board. So let's go ahead and see if we can get that board out of here and replace those capacitors. So let's set this up here. Take the case and put it down here for now. Alright, so we've got those two caps we identified earlier, this one and this one. I'll just take a quick look at everything else on here. Yeah, we got another bad one here as well. So we'll take these three caps off and hopefully we have replacements. They all look like they're the same capacitors, so I'm sure I've got something close that will work. And they are through holes, obviously, because they're big. So let's go ahead and fire up the soldering iron. Get out the flux. All right, so we'll get a little bit closer for this work. All right, so I've got my flux applied to the affected capacitors. So I'm just going to take some solder wick here and see if I can get that solder off. I might need to add new fresh solder. And I suspect that when this board was assembled, they had stopped using lead-free solder at this point, which makes sense for the environment and people working on it, but it makes it much harder to work on. So I'm just going to add some leaded solder. This is a 6040 tin and lead. And that should help the existing solder flow a little more easily. And we'll add some more flux as well. So we've almost got it out. There we go. So what is this? 1,000 microfarads at 10 volts. I'm sure I have some of those. That's one. Let's pull the other two out. So we got flux applied. Go ahead and add some fresh solder. And just a little bit of force there, I think. We got one leg out. With some fresh solder. And it just fell out. It's like that. So this one is 1,000 microfarads at 10 volts, same as the first. Now the problem here is these holes still have solder in them, so we can't put a new one in easily. We'll try to clean them out, but that's typically pretty difficult to do. So what I've done in the past is use like the leg of a resistor or something to heat up and kind of push it through, and that should clear it out. So we'll come back to that one. Let's get the next one off. All right, that one is out. Those holes are both, actually I think, so this one is 1,000 microfarads at 10 volts as well. All right, so let me see if I have even replacements for these. I have a feeling that I probably do somewhere in my capacitor thing here. Maybe 470s. These are the ones, 1,000 microfarads at 10 volts. And got 3 of them. Perfect. So I have all these capacitors from various projects, and usually when I buy capacitors, I always buy a couple extra just to have on hand. And I swear, like, every project I do, I never have the right capacitors. So I'm surprised that I have these 3 here. This is a special treat for me. So very happy to be able to pull those out and find them right away. They were on top. All right. So now the matter of just replacing these. They are labeled with white side going towards the white stripe, or negative. All right, now what we need to do before we put the board back is clean it up. So this is no clean flux that I'm using, but you still want to clean it. Normal flux can, when you leave it on the board after you do work, can continue to eat through the solder mask and eventually lead to corrosion. So you do want to clean it off. Even the no clean stuff, I mean, never hurts to clean up after yourself. Both in electronics reworking and in life. All right, so the board's clean. Throw our garbage out. Take our dead capacitors, throw them back there in the dead capacitor area. I used to have a bag, but it's overflowed now. So many dead capacitors. If you don't know the story about the capacitor plague, I mean, you're watching this channel, you probably know the story. But if you don't, it's an interesting read. I guess what had happened was there was a chemist from China who was working in Japan, and he stole the formula for the electrolyte that's in these capacitors and took it back to China, but he either stole a bad formula or copied it down wrong, or it was mistranslated. And though all the capacitors seemed fine at first, they all eventually started leaking. So it was all these, fake ones, because it was in China. So they say that they're good capacitors, they're forgeries or whatever. Or sorry, that they're not forgeries when they are, because it's a stolen formula. But yeah, and everybody was guilty of it. I mean, the supply chain being what it was, nobody knew that they were buying, stolen formula to make their capacitors. Dell didn't know, Apple didn't know, but they all found out. All right. Oh yeah. So the thermal paste in this chip is very, mostly crusty. Let's go ahead and clean that off while we have it out. Still a little tacky, but it's pretty close to the end of its useful life. So let's replace it. All right. And we'll get the heatsink cleaned up after we get the board in. All right, so let's take the board and drop it back in. Get all these hundreds of cables out of the way. You know what helps? Plugging the power supply back into the board. It definitely is a requirement of getting it to boot. Or to post, rather. Alright, we got a green light. The fan's running. Alright, so not only did I not connect the ATX originally for the retest, I didn't connect the +4 for the processor, the dedicated CPU power. So if we plug that in, I think we should get a working machine now. Let's go ahead and fire it up. It spins up all the fans. And of course it can't boot because I don't have the hard drive connected. So with that, I think we can reassemble things. But before we do, that 8 megabyte onboard video just isn't going to cut it for this machine for me. So I have here a WinFast 128 megabyte video card. So this is using the GeForce, the NVIDIA GeForce 6200 chip in an AGP format with 128 megs of RAM. So let's take that slot cover off. And we'll pop in this WinFast video card here. And now we can go about hooking everything else back up, including, I guess, putting this modem back in that we'll never use. All right, and let's give it a test here. All right, looks like we're booting up, no problem. All right, so now it's looking for a driver for our GeForce 6200, which I guess Windows XP doesn't have, or at least not this service revision. Let's see if it can install it. It cannot. And we are not connected to the internet. So let me grab some drivers for this, and then we will install our new drivers for our video card. So let's cancel this for now. And removable disk is shown up here. There it is. Nope, let's not do any of that stuff. So let's go to our J drive, and we will install ForceWare for Windows XP and Windows 2000. All right, we will continue with the install. Doesn't matter that it's not signed. All right, that's a good sign. That means it's probably installed drivers and has changed to a resolution this monitor does not support. Maybe? Oh, there we go. It's just slow to respond. Okay, that's probably all fine. All of that's probably fine. All right, now it wants us to restart. We'll do it later. All right, so now if we check out Device Manager, we should see that we have our GeForce drivers installed here. And there it is. All right, so that leaves just one more thing to do. All right, so I got the DVD drive fixed. Just a little bit of opening and closing the tray here seems to have resolved it. So there probably was like a flat spot or a worn out spot in the belt, but that's all good. And that was nice to not have to take the drive apart to do that. So on this USB drive, which I'll pop in, I have an installer for Far Cry. This is from Good Old Games, GOG.com. So this should be the actual installer and not some modern recreation. Yes, I have read and accept your EULA. So Far Cry was one of the, I guess, top games of 2004. I certainly played it. I played it on Xbox, I guess it would have been Xbox 360 in 2004. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 360 and not original Xbox. But this machine, this is kind of, one of the AAA titles for the year it was released. So with this upgraded video card, we should be able to run Far Cry without a whole lot of problem. So we'll go ahead and let this install, and then we'll give it a quick test. All right, so we've got Far Cry installed here. Go ahead and exit the installer. So I'll do, let's do campaign on easy because I haven't played this in years. All right. Yeah, it seems pretty performant. I mean, this is 2004 graphics. At the time, this looked
I've got to find a way out of here.
pretty awesome compared to just a few years earlier. This was very realistic looking. Control is crouch, not shift. So this is just running me through the tutorial level here. There we go.
Listen, dirtbag, keep an eye out for some punk in a red Hawaiian shirt. If you see him, call me at once. Am I understood? Yes, sir. I'm heading out.
You can't beat it. 2004, man. A lot of people say 2004 was the year that really pushed gaming forward, and I mean, there was a lot of great games this year, including this one. Okay.
Hello? Are you there? Pick up the radio if you can hear this. I know you're there. I've been tracking you since you and Val arrived.
Who are you?
I'm the guy who's going to tell you how to survive. call me Doyle.
How do I know I can trust you?
Well, for starters, how about the fact that I haven't turned you in? That radio has a bioreader. Since I know you're there, I could have ratted you out already.
Good point. Keep talking.
Listen, you need to get out of there and quickly. I'll help you as much as possible, but you don't have much time. There's an exit that will lead to a small camp. Be careful as you go. This area is crawling with mercenaries.
By the way, name's Jack Carver.
Alright, we get our gun up here. And
Our reports say you're in a red shirt. I suggest you grab some body armor and cover it. You'll be easily spotted.
okay, we need a grenade. Body armor to cover up our red shirt. There's some weird texturing thing going on there. Alright, but this system seems more than capable of handling these things. So let's crank some of these settings and see if we can't get it to really slow down. So video options. We're going to do advanced options. Texture quality, very high. Texture filter, trilinear. Particle count, very high. Special effects quality, very high. Environment quality, very high. Shadow quality, very high. Water quality, ultra high. Lighting quality, very high. Alright, we're going to restart the game. She's a little choppy. But, you know, I think we're probably getting like maybe 15, 20 frames a second. Maybe a little better than that there. Actually,
I've gotta find a way out of here.
maybe it was just stuttering at the beginning as it was loading the textures in. It's still a little choppy, but it's not unplayable. It's definitely still choppy though. I think we might have, froze a little. It was loading in more textures. So what's really throttling us here is the hard drive. It's just on solid. So it's bringing all these high-res textures in, which is loading into RAM, and that is really what's killing us. So today, we could replace the spinning hard drive with an SSD, and that would probably really help. But what I'm going for in this system is more of a much more vintage experience. 20 years being vintage, sure. But yeah, I think we're going to call this one good. Everything looks like it's working fine. All right, so to wrap things up, we got this system, what was supposedly new in box, but obviously it wasn't new, but it was in boxes, which was cool because they're the iconic cow spot boxes. So I'm happy to have this system. Would have been really cool to have, you know, a fresh, never used Pentium 4 Gateway system to go through and just kind of go through the initial setup process. But this thing was, you know, barely touched, didn't really have a lot of heavy usage, it didn't have anything installed. So this kind of really is like the true 2004 experience. We've got the motherboard repaired. It had some leaking capacitors that we replaced. They hadn't failed yet. The system was still working without having those replaced, but it's good to get that done before they leak and destroy other components or short out and fry something. So we took care of that. We fixed the optical drive, and then we installed the new period correct-ish GeForce 6200. And you know, we've got a nice working system here. We can play Far Cry. We can kind of play Far Cry in very high, ultra-high mode, but we're limited again by the hard disk being slow and loading those things in to RAM. So anyway, this system isn't quite as vintage as things I normally work on. You know, if it's got a dual-layer DVD drive, if it's got a flat screen, even if the flat screen weighs 20 pounds, if it's got USB, typically those things wouldn't be on systems that I would consider vintage. But this is still a cool system. It tells a cool story, especially with the boxes, and you know, I'm happy to have it. I'm happy that it's working, and I'm really looking forward to playing through Far Cry from 2004 on period correct hardware again. So anyway, I hope I was able to edit this video down from the 4.5 hours of footage I shot to something that was much more watchable. If I didn't, thanks for sticking around. If I did, also thanks for sticking around. I know this is a video kind of went all over, kind of like I like to do, ramble, talk about, you know, the system, and then I'm rambling now, forget it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
guys, make sure to like and subscribe and watch more of our videos later. Bye!